easy to want to sit here night after night after night after night to do this work. So thank you. Thanks, Matt.
So I will support this budget. I want to thank Ken and particularly the district leadership team and Pauline for the hard work on the budget. In terms of the district leadership team for working very hard to hold the line on virtually every spending line in this budget outside of energy, salaries, and benefits. That's a difficult thing to do, and I appreciate the time and effort that goes into getting that done. I believe there's a lot for the town to be grateful for in terms of this budget, which asks for a very modest increase to the tax rate, while maintaining the programs and services that make this district outstanding. And I guess the only other thing that I would add to what David has said is that while we do face some uncertainties in the future, including some, we know of some revenue that we will be losing in the future. We are taking precautions with this budget in terms of reserving some funds to help cushion those losses for next year. So I'm eagerly supporting this budget, which I think is strikes a very careful balance between the needs of the taxpayers and the needs of the district.
Thank you, John. Michael?
Sure. I too am very supportive of the budget. I just want to highlight a couple items that in past budgets have getting a lot of discussion or comment. One is enrollment's declining. Why isn't that reflected in a declining school budget? So our budget does reflect a modest decline in enrollment. Staff this year we're reducing by 1.5 positions. So it does reflect the reality that we've had a modest decline in enrollment. It also reflects a nationwide issue of increasing healthcare costs. So even if you have flat or a modest decline in staff, underlying healthcare costs in the budgets are about a 10% increase, and that's an issue every school district is facing. Another area, even though our enrollment has declined modestly, like Dominic made a presentation, some of our instructional support, the intensity of the services we're not only required to provide, but the desire to provide every child with appropriate education is driving some pressures in terms of further funding for that area. Oil costs, as we all know, have gone up substantially. As a user of fuel, we're not able to avoid that reality. And if you add on that a $925,000 reduction in federal stimulus funds, I'm shocked that we're able to deliver a budget that is showing a $448,000 budget increase given a lot of the pressures we're facing. So I think it's realistic, I think it's appropriate, and it reflects the realities in areas we really don't have a lot of control over, which are healthcare cost increase and oil cost increase. I'd like to thank the DLT for the fantastic job they've done, and I echo Kim's comments that it was a very easy budget to follow, but as important as that, it'll be an easy budget to communicate to citizens and to the town council when they have questions on the drivers of the budget.
Thank you, Michael. Kathy?
I'll just say that I'd like to thank Ken and Pauline and the district leadership team and all the staff members for the development of this budget.
Okay, I think that leaves me, and I too will be supporting the superintendent's budget. For most schools, when we rolled out the budget, the story behind the budget was the devastating loss of the stimulus funds, and for us here in Cape, the story of this year's budget is thanks to the prudent planning of last year's board and to the creative work of our administrators and a conservative teacher contract tentative agreement, it appears that we're going to pull through the first year of the cliff without damage that so many of our neighboring districts seem to be facing. With that being said, Cape Elizabeth is no stranger to lean budgets. So I'm happy to say that we weren't facing a year of more cuts this year. As such, we've lost valued programs in the past, and unlike many of our counterparts, we have not had opportunities for improvement that many of them have had, for instance, one-on-one computing. But this year we were presented with a maintenance budget, which I'm very comfortable with, and it means that the educational delivery will be mostly the same, with decreases made in staffing where thresholds were met, and increases for fuel expenditures and contracted salaries and benefits. And this, to me, is a budget that upholds the school system for a minimal tax increase for homeowners. With that being said, I want people, at least our taxpayers and our homeowners, to know that even though this is a maintenance budget, I'm always in awe of how creative our staff is and how they always look to do more with less. There were a couple examples I was thinking of this afternoon that we learned about through this process, and one was the retooling of the Achievement Center, the work that Jeff has done, which is an excellent example of enhancing a district asset at virtually no extra cost to the taxpayer. And he's provided a greater return for the district as a whole and for students and teachers as well. Gary works tirelessly to provide free software, and he's moved us over to Google Computing, which has saved the district quite a bit of money. And then I was thinking of Greg and your custodial stewardship and how you have passed along some of the things we used to contract out to outside services, like refinishing of floors, to our own employees, and that gives them a greater sense of ownership and pride in the school system. So after hours of learning more about what our district does, during these budget meetings, I feel very confident that our administrators are committed to delivering a high-quality product for a very reasonable cost. Our expenditure per pupil ranking is still among the lowest of our peer communities, so that continues to support that notion. So on my list of thank yous, I'd like to thank John Christie for being finance chair and running these meetings so smoothly for us, and our administrators and DLT especially for their work on the budget and countless ways that they support the district's work and the students that we actually never find out about or know. I'd like to thank our teachers for the tentative agreement. I'd like to thank Mike McGovern and the town council for providing support around the boiler. And I'd like to thank Ken for the time and the energy that you've spent constructing this budget and guiding us through this process. So I'm proud to be able to support this budget and to pass it along to the town council in a couple of weeks and then on to the voters in May. So, any additional comments? Okay, all those in favor? 7-0. Okay, Ken has some summaries to pass out to us.
The real budget now.
Yes.
2.2%.
That's right.
What I'm passing around is 2 pages, and it's what the state requires us to post. And I wanted you to have a copy of it so that when you saw it, you would recognize it. There's 2 pages, right? One is entitled 2011-2012 Cape Elizabeth School Department General Operating Budget, and the other one is a revenue summary. So What we will give to the town council is a budget book similar to the one that we've been working on. So it's going to be the same thing that you've seen for the past, I don't know how long I've been doing this, a month or so. But I didn't want this to catch you by surprise. It's something that the state requires, but it's not how we're going to be presenting the budget to the town council. We're going to be presenting the budget to the town council the way we've been working on this for a month.
Any questions, comments?
Yes.
Pauline, anything you want to add for clarity?
I don't think so. I'll answer any questions that anyone has.
David?
Have to have the last
I
word.
know, you always.
Waited too long. I gave my speech about what I thought was the overview of why we did what we did, and I didn't think to thank anybody, but now that I feel a little bad, because I do want to thank our district leadership team. It really was extremely enjoyable this year to do the budget process as opposed to my first year. And I also want to thank Ken for, in large part, guiding us to a much simpler, straightforward budget that I think citizens can understand than what we've been used to in the past. And I've already thanked the teachers for their help, but it was a extremely enjoyable experience this year, if one actually can call this joyous to look at budgets. But I think it's due to an excellent district leadership team, and quite frankly, to a gentleman we're going to greatly miss, Kim Murphy, for putting this in a format that everybody can understand. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all we have on the agenda tonight. So do I have a motion?
Oops, yeah.
Can we also adopt the community services budget?
Oh, that was not on our agenda.
Or when will that be done?
We better do that.
Thank you,
On our
Janet.
agenda.
Oversight of the interim superintendent.
I retract what I said.
The chair.
Is there a motion?
Do we have a motion for that?
Because I think we'd be prepared to do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll
Yeah,
definitely.
we've been through the budget. We just- What is the total amount?
That's what I'm looking for.
You'll need a motion to approve that amount.
Do you think we should make Janet come up?
Yeah.
$1,70,494.
$1,070,000. I have a motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
I move to approve the 2011-2012 community services budget in the amount of $1,070,494.
Do I have a second? Discussion, please.
Just for the benefit of the public that may be watching, the community service budget will present no increase in taxes either. The same commitment on the part of the town that the town made last year is being recommended this year, so it too has a 0% impact on taxes.
I don't want the town to get the idea that we're just blithely passing something we've never seen before. We've actually been over that budget line by line on numerous previous occasions, and asked a lot of questions about it, and we're very satisfied with the answers. And as Ken says, it's not an increase in taxes, but I think it's also worthwhile to say that it is a service that everybody loves and enjoys, and it actually, the total cost per medium household, I think is about $35 in total. Quite a bang for the small bucks that we're doing, but we have investigated line by line in numerous sessions before.
David, you forgot to use the word "I."